Progress.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another amazing edition of Racist News Network Live. We have an awesome guest joining us tonight. Sorry, I was like totally robotic right there for a minute. It's going to be coming on in about 10 or 15 minutes. Of course, I'm talking about my old friend and everybody's friend, Bob Bender. He's a stalwart in NHRA Division I stock eliminator racing. Been doing this since pretty close to the beginning of time, I think. But Bob used to be part of my old show, and been talking to him off and on for a month or so. Said, hey, you got to come on, you got to talk to us and let us know what's going on, because again, I've known him for, I don't know, 6-8 years, and he's just a really cool guy, has a lot of knowledge. Again, he was part of the Division I tech team. He's a military vet. He is also a retired police officer, and has survived a lot of stuff that life is trying to throw at not only him, but his lovely wife, Penny, who also was an occasional competitor in stock eliminator and front wheel drive cars. I think it was one of Billy Knee's cars that she drove. So we're going to be talking to them. But I have to just do one quick thing, because I forgot to do it because I got busy goofing off, and just change that. So in the meantime, while we get ready to talk to Bob, coming up tomorrow night live at 7 o'clock, not only myself, but Pete will be here, and we have a great list of people who are going to be joining us to present some awards to people who very much have earned them. And of course, I'm talking about the first annual PD Awards. And what I have right here is the trophies that are going to be handed out to 10 different classes, contestants, however you want to put it. And what we have selected, I'm not going to tell you the winners. You have to wait till tomorrow night to see that. But it's presented by Duzen LLC. Everybody knows Duzen up here in New England. They do some awesome beadlock conversions, and they are also a general machine shop and competitors in Division I up here, and also some of the big money bracket race stuff. They are the sponsor of the Duzen Triple 10Ks that are going to be happening later on this summer at Lebanon Valley. But to go through what we have chosen for titles, I guess you could call it, Track Employee of the Year, Association Promoter of the Year, Special Event of the Year, Track Manager of the Year, NHRA Division I Employee of the Year, Interview of the Year, Best Personality, Most Improved Track, and Sponsor of the Year. So we got kind of a different set of things for people to receive recognition for. When we talked about this, I don't know, 6 months ago, whatever it was kind of meant to be a little bit of a goof on some people that were complaining about participation trophies. So originally we're going to call it the Participation Trophy Award Show. But then we changed our mind. Actually, Pete came up with the idea of let's call it the PDs. So again, we have all the trophies, and we will be handing those out tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Now, for the people that are going to be joining us to help hand them out, it's going to be Taylor Nobile, Rob Keister, Vince Mussolino, and his partner Gary. Wayne Del Monte is going to be coming on with us as well. And we're hoping that Steve Johnson, NHRA Pro Stock Motorcycle Racer, will be coming on to hang out with us to hand out some awards as well. So it's going to be a good time, no doubt about that. Like I said, Bob's going to be joining us very, very soon. And pardon me for just a moment. There we go. Going to be an awesome conversation. I'm so looking forward to it. Pete is unfortunately stuck in his garage at Straight Line Performance and Automotive. He's had a customer car that's kind of giving him fits, so he's there taking care of that. And Jared Artis, yes, you have known Bob for over 30 years. He is an awesome dude. He really is. And sorry, I gotta turn my volume down. Thank you very much, Tim Barrett. I appreciate that. Kenny, how are you? Glad to see you. People are tuning in, checking us out. Mr. Masiello, how are you, buddy? Go back here just a little bit. This is when I get jammed up because I wish Pete was here. Because what I do is I share it while he talks. So it gives me some distraction time. But that's okay. We'll get it. So obviously, if anybody has any specific questions that they want to ask Bob, please just let me know. You can post it in the on our Facebook page at racersnewsnetwork.com. Excuse me, on Facebook at Racers News Network. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I know Bob's going to be heading down to the Gators, the baby Gators, and the normal Gator Nationals as well. With the big girl. If anybody has never seen his wagon, it's really cool. I think it's a 69. It's a Kingswood wagon. It weighs. He told me today when we talked that he had to add another 100 pounds to it to make P stock. So it's 4,500 pounds, and yet it still yanks the front tires off the ground. Not a lot, but enough to so people notice it. So I'm really looking forward to this. Again, Pete is not going to be able to join. Sorry, guys. Hang on just a second. Oh. We also have our first sponsor of 2023 who's come on board. And of course, I'm talking about Hoops Fire Prevention and Protection out of Delaware. So thank you to Jeff and his team for coming on board and being part of our team. So like I said, Bob's going to be joining us any minute, I hope, because I don't do good by myself. But that's okay. So, but also we have some friends that are listening too. Those of you that don't know Tim Barrett's wife, Linda, she rang the gong versus ringing the bell. She showed cancer for, I believe it was the third time, who the boss is. And so we want to give a big shout out to Linda Barrett and say huge congratulations and look forward to seeing you at Lebanon Valley and New England Dragway this summer for the divisionals and for the national event in New England. And I believe, oh, there he is. Look at that ugly face. All right, you're connecting, Bob. Can you hear me? He's very, very serious. Your audio's connect. There you are. All right, buddy.
Wow. Technology.
The look of concentration on your face right now.
I'd like to beat this phone up is what I'd like to do.
Oh my God. So for those of you that don't know, the man to my left right there, that is the finest person in Perryville, Maryland. Of course, I'm talking about Bob Bender, U.S. Army veteran, retired police officer, stock eliminator racer, former NHRA tech person, helps out pretty much anybody that needs help figuring out how to do this silly sport that everybody loves. So what's going on, buddy?
Well, not a whole lot, man. Just getting over COVID back in December. Got COVID, got the flu. Penny got the COVID. Her immune system, of course, since her cancer and stuff, we were both scared to death. But she actually did a whole lot better than I did. She's a tough cookie, as you well know.
Yep.
And that and a little quick story here. I entered Gainesville basically to help out a friend. And when it went over quota, my CEO, which is Penny, says, screw it, we're going to Gainesville. So we've been nonstop getting the trailer freshened up, ready to go, got the motorhome freshened up, ready to go. And this coming week, we're going to work on the old girl and get her ready to go.
Now let's there's a lot of stories that go along with your current race car. It had another name that I get. We'll skip over that one. We kind of talked about that a little bit this morning.
We can say that. We can say that.
All right. It's known as the Fat Girl. If it's in 1969, correct?
Yes, 69 Kingswood.
Kingswood. That, from what you told me this morning, you just threw another 100 pounds at it to make P stock. So you're chugging around 2.5 tons.
A good solid 4,500.
And it's still yanks the front tire.
Yeah, it's a beast. But I'll tell you, the reason we don't call it the Fat Girl anymore, when Joe Costello did the Attention in the Pits episode, he said, what do you call it? I said, we call it the Fat Girl. And he goes, nah, we can't do that. How about the Big Girl? I said, nah, I'm good with that for now.
That's cool. Now you've been around racing for a really, really long time. When did you first get started?
1964, I was 15. I jumped in my buddy's junior stock 55 and won 3 weeks in a row. And the third week, the manager at Cecil County said, show me your driver's license and I'll hand you the check. And I said, I won't have one till, now this was in October, early October. Said I won't have one till March. I turned 16 in March. So right. I had to sit on the bench until March of the following year.
Did he at least give you the checks?
No driver's license, no check.
No.
There were big checks back then. Yeah, it was $25, man. That was a lot of coin.
That was a lot of coin back in the early 50s.
No, not the early 50s now. The 60s.
Oh, excuse me, early 60s. Sorry.
Yeah, you got a moment there, huh?
It happens a lot. Hey, that's life in a fast lane. So how did you kind of progress from there? Obviously, in March, you got your license, and you continued racing until you went into service, right?
Yes, and at that time, I went into the Army in 1969 and signed up because initially I got drafted, but I went ahead and signed up after the fact and got with the 101st Airborne Division and got TDY to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and that's where I met my buddy, my good friend Buddy Marshall, that goes by Bud, and I bumped into him when I was in Vietnam in '70. It was a tearful reunion then, just like it was 51 years later. But I got home in '72 and '73 started right back up again on a much lower scale because just getting out of service, no money, driving other people's stuff, but it all worked out.
Now, you've done time as a tech inspector as well.
Yeah, in the early '80s, for 3 years, I worked for Greg and Bob Lang on the D1 group.
Now, you obviously still did you compete and do the tech stuff at the same time? So I don't think you could do that, could you?
No, because
No.
I was working at Cecil County every week as the chief starter until there was a points race or a national event that I wanted to go, and then they had a fill in for me. But no, when I sold the race car and went to work for Greg, and like I say, it was quite of a learning experience. I cherished those years that I was with them. I learned a lot. I taught a little bit, and it all worked out. And that's why I think I'm a lot more mellow with things, because I've been on both sides of the fence. A lot of these younger guys and a lot of the older guys that are just starting, they tend to be a little mouthier. I think they should be when they're talking to these guys. I mean, these guys work long hours for not much pay because they enjoy the sport just as much as the racers do. And it really pains me when I see racers verbally beating up on these guys, because I was in their shoes. And, to me, I rationalized being the tech inspector just like being a cop to some degree. You put up with a lot of crap and you get paid a little bit of money. So you must really like the job or you wouldn't do it. And like I said, I learned a whole lot, and I just really cherish those years that I had with them.
Awesome. Now, with you seeing things, in the better part of almost 60 years of racing, do you like what you see, or is it just kind of you almost kind of sit back and go, I don't know.
Well, personally, I'm not happy with a few of the changes that they've made. And, you got cars out there. Let's use the Chevrolet for an example, which I'm more familiar with, but you got cars out there that never came with aluminum intake, aluminum cylinder heads, have them now. And, they're all hollering, hey, we got to slow things down here, drop the indexes and whatever. But they're the same people that complained that somebody got 4 horsepower off their combo because they worked hard. They're calling them welfare addicts because, they got welfare. Well, gee, didn't you just get welfare? You got 3 cylinder heads and an intake. So
Right.
the info just really bothers me. NHRA, for an example, left the grid come in stock eliminator. I think that was one of the worst things they could have ever done. If you want to cheat, that grid will let it happen. Just
Fair enough.
little things like that, Chris, that bother me, that kind of takes the true basics of stock eliminator and hurt and tarnish it a little bit, because you get a smart tech guy, of which I'm not. I can't even get on the phone to talk to you, but you get guys that are smart and creative, and you can take what that grid has to offer. You can get a dry shaft counter out of it. You can get, this out of it, that out of it, things that can really entice you to run good if you leave the start line decent.
Did you find it interesting at the U.S. Nationals last year that even though it was super gas that they brought into the barn, that they actually did that?
Well, I think with Lonnie coming on board, and I've talked to him in some lengths, they need to get some type of handle on the obvious. We're just out of control. You've got, some cars that literally, I used to joke around that I put a 383 crate motor in every time I got the car to run good. And literally that's happened. And other crazier things have happened. And the virtual tech, the virtual this, virtual that, that's crap. You need somebody to look at something and say, hey, that's wrong.
or not safe, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and if they're going to check tech, they need to do it in all facets of the series, whether it's, the guy coming in there running the street thing all the way to the guy, with an alcohol car. You got to check stuff.
Jumping into the future. How about the electric cars, the battery, the Teslas and stuff like that? What do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think?
Well, I'll be real honest with you. I turn 74 next month, and hopefully before that takes over, I'll be dead. Now, if that answers your take on electric cars.
I copy you 100%.
But, I do know they're out there, and I do know that we dabbled with them a while back a little bit. As you know, when I had Larry Morgan on the show, I got some contacts through him that people are out there fooling with them, and they're fast. Look at the Cobra Jet, look at the Copo. They are fast, but it's just something about a car going down the track, instead of making a rumbling sound, it's hissing as it goes by.
Right. Now, all right, you made me think of something interesting. As one of the, not the slowest, but one of the slower cars out there, you're what, mid to low 12-second car. As a competitor, what is it like racing one of those factory cars when they're either going to go blowing by you, for anywhere from half track on, or they come rocketing by you at the finish line? What is that like?
It's actually a ton of fun. It really, really is. And I think it was 2019, I raced Mike Iaconio driving Mr. Urbino's Cobra Jet, and he was 40 on the tree, I was 42. I ran dead on and he ran a little under. And I love those races because pretty much everybody knows I dial the car hard. I don't mess around. I don't do craziness. And I damn sure don't want to get down to the finish line, lock the brakes up, and a guy's coming 170 mile an hour in the other lane. I don't need that big thing to be crosswise in his lane. Those guys that own those cars and drive those cars, such as Mike, they do everything correctly. They lift, they don't use brakes. And that particular day, he said to me, he said, "Well, you mad at me or something, man? Throw the 9-pack on me." And I said, "Nah, man." I said, we had the car dialed real hard and thought it would run that, and it did. And I lifted just a hair. And he said, when I seen your nose go down, I knew I was had. He said, I dumped it and still ran out. But me, the slower car, I enjoy that. And a few people have asked me over the years, am I worried about them coming over in my lane and hurt me? And the answer to that is no.
All right, fair enough. Now, you've also had some experience with front wheel drive stuff with your lovely wife, Penny. She's raced front wheel drive. That was one of Billy's cars, right?
Well, it was an old Billy car, and then Dennis Chapman got it. He bought it from him, and then Penny got in that. And it's kind of a sad story, but a good story. Penny's father had passed, and Dinwiddie points race was coming up. So about 3-4 weeks after that, I loaded that little thing up on the trailer and told her, "Hey, you're running this points race. Go to Dinwiddie. Round 3, she's still in." I said, it took me about 10 years to go that far out of division. First one for you, you're at round 3. And she beat good guys. I mean, she beat Pygden. She beat Joe Lisa first round. And I told her first round, it was hot. Car wouldn't run the index. I told her, don't lift till you make the turn at the bottom end because the car won't run the index. Well, she had like a 10 light or something. Joe had a 100 light. And I hear Joe burping it, feeding her the stripe, and I'm on the start line. And Carl, the starter, you had to know Carl, he was a cool dude. He said, hey, fat boy, stop jumping up and down. You're going to break the blacktop up. And, you know, that's the first round she ever won. And by the time I got back to the trailer, there must have been 50, 60 people over there, and they're all crying with her. And I mean, it was truly a real good weekend.
Awesome. And now, a few years ago, she got the chance to try a rear wheel drive car and do some burnout practice and make a couple of hits, right?
Yeah, she actually took it to the ATCO divisional or the Open. I'm not sure, one of them. And she was doing good until the planetary let go in the transmission, and she was quite upset. And Billy comes up to her and says, "Oh, hon, come on, don't get upset. That transmission ain't been apart in 25 years." And it's like, you know, he gets his money's worth out of stuff.
Right. Now does Penny have, I know she's obviously still dealing with a few health things, but does she have any plans to maybe try hopping behind the wheel again?
Well, I think so, but you never know. You know, right now she's got, you know, like you said, the health problems and some other internal things going on that she doesn't feel comfortable being in the car.
Fair enough. Nothing wrong with that. All right. So Jared wanted me to ask you, talk to everybody about E-Town and Carl.
Carl, the starter, man. Carl was one of the nicest people you could ever meet. And Carl and I and Penny hit it off. And Carl would always tell her something's dripping out of my car, and if I don't get it fixed, she's going to toss me. Then I'd come up to the starting line and give him a blast of crap, and he'd say, "Well, how you been? I ain't seen you, man. You didn't come up and talk to me." So that's how I got you up here. But Carl was a real cool guy. At ATCO one year, it was hot as heck. I come out of the water, and I seen the red lights on the tree flashing. He put the box down, comes over, tells me shut my car off, gets in the passenger seat and lays back and says, "Woo, it's hot out there, man. You got anything to drink?" Yeah.
I was gonna say, I hear her
about,
in the background.
yeah. Jared might be talking about the time that I lost in class, and he told me, he said, "I called Walmart and got a egg timer coming for you so you know when to leave next time." Carl was a class act.
That's awesome.
And Jared's a good kid, man. We've known him since he was a little shit.
A little, that's maybe that should be his new name. Little shit.
Little shit. Nah,
Little
he's too
shit.
damn tall for that. And Penny calls him Little Jared.
He said, "Yep, that was
I don't
one."
know if she knows more.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Penny calls him Little Jared, and I'm not sure why.
Oh,
You get that?
Penny has to look up at Elijah.
Oh, I know, but she calls him Little Jared. I wonder why.
Oh, I wonder why.
There you go. Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, he was little, man. Then he just had a growth spurt. Now he's 9 foot tall. But I'll tell you what, Carl taught him the starting line, and as a starter and being a young kid, he's doing a really good job with it. You always got the few that bitch about everything, but the kid does a good job.
Very cool. Now, do you have any plans down the road to maybe get back involved with the division, or are you just going to be sitting back and watching?
Well, I've offered, and like when they set records at the Dutch and this, that, and the other, if they get short in the barn, they would come get me and help them out. But right now, I'm more concerned with trying to still win a divisional and still win a national. And maybe after I get in a wheelchair or something, I'll work for the division. But that, but we got a new director that no one seems to know much about, and I'm anxious to see how that shakes out.
Right. Well, I know that we, both of us have reached out to him, myself and Pete, to say, come on and say hi and tell us a little bit about himself. But unfortunately, we haven't heard back, either of us, and I have emailed him. So
Yeah,
who knows?
I've heard that from other folks too, that he's pretty difficult to get a hold of.
Yeah. So I know some of the division employees have also said that he has promised to reach out and get some, say hi, how are you, and just there's been no contact, no communication. So it'll be interesting to see, like you said, how it all plays out.
Well, the banquet's this Saturday, and we're going to the banquet. So I mean, we're not staying or not. We're just going up for the banquet and coming home. And I'm anxious to see how that goes, because that's usually really choreographed well. A little bit of spontaneity, and I hear that crazy ass loan's coming down to chair it. So we'll see.
Be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
So getting back to the tech stuff a little bit, can you give people a kind of an overview of what it was like before all this virtual stuff compared to what it is now?
Well, you want me to go way back or in between, or?
Let's go. How about late 80s, early 90s?
All right. Well, probably the tail end of the 80s. We used to go to shopping malls to tech. So you take York, the big mall up there on 30, you would tech on, let's say, Wednesday or Thursday night, and you would see 300-400 cars in the shopping mall getting teched, and everybody in town goes like, holy crap, there's a race this weekend, and the place would be packed. Well, then that went away. Then we teched at the track, and the tech guys did a good job with what they had to work with, like US 13. We didn't have the best of conditions coming in there to initially do the tech, because the way they had it set up, they basically kept the place locked up, and you did it out by the road. And then as they got done, they would trickle in one by one to go in. And MIR, some of the older tracks that we went to back then, they treated us decent and had plenty of room for tech. But each guy went over the car, stock, for the example. They checked the carburetor number to make sure that carburetor was the correct carburetor for that engine. They checked your intake number and made sure that was the intake number in the book. They checked the head numbers and made sure it was that. Once in a while, they check a block number, but normally they didn't mess with that. Then they looked to make sure back then you still had to run a manual pump, but you could run an electric prior to it. And they made sure that the mechanical pump wasn't blocked off and you were getting all the pressure from the electric pump, which never quite understood that rule anyway, but you got the electric pump, use it. And things just kept trickling down because your NHRA staff is getting older. There's not a whole lot of kids kicking the door in for not much pay. And yourself, there's not enough car people today. In the old days, everybody had a car that was unique and different. They like Ford, Chevy, Chrysler, and then to each, watered down vehicle in each one of those groups. Today, they all look like a hunk of clay that was put in the wind tunnel and cranked the wind up, and what you got left is what they drive. There's no profound, hey, that's a such and such, or hey, that's this. They're all pretty much the same looking cars. The SUVs are pretty much the same. The pickups got a little bit of their own, flavor yet.
Right, but then we even look at a brand new pickup, you're looking at 80 to 100 grand.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So,
Pickups are tough. Well, everything's tough. And then, don't want to get into politics or whatever, but the state of the world today, everything's ordered and you're not getting it, and this going on, that going on, and prices is getting out of hand. If you went out and built or even bought a stock eliminator car, you'd have some deep pockets. And I'm not talking a Copo. I'm talking about something like mine starting out. You're not going to find anything for, less than 20 grand, because you take a car even like mine, you go out and buy a fresh motor, you're looking at 25 grand. You're
right,
looking, $8,000 for a trick transmission, ring and pinion, then the suspension, then paint, then this, then that. It's crazy.
right.
So it's like I tell people, you're gonna buy something already established that you can buy reasonable and get in the front door. You can always move around once you get in.
Fair enough. Now, seeing we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, the progression of the sport, like I said, you're talking for you, almost 60 years of, being around it. The one thing that you hear a lot, and you and me both read the same internet page, it's dying. What do we do? How do we do it? How do we get people involved in it? And then a lot of people throw in, yeah, but the front wheel drive stuff's taken off. And oh my God, oh, you can't have front wheel drive cars. You can't have the, 8-second turbocharged Honda Civics out there. That's, blasphemy. Do you think that's a little bit closed-minded on the part of some people?
Yeah, I do, because here's the deal. When I couldn't afford to hit, 7 divisionals a year in the national event or two, I bracket raced. My stock eliminator car one year had 900 runs on. And racing is racing. I don't care if it's front wheel drive, sideways drive, rear wheel, whatever you got. Race the damn car, enjoy it. Like I said, I'm a little critical with all, if everything went all electric. Because to me, I think it'd be pretty boring, but that's just me. And you got to have cars going down the track, or you don't have a track. You got to have people coming in the gate, or you don't have a track. And sometimes the racer gets so blindsided, like with the ATCO deal. People wanted to burn the man's house down, wanted to do this, wanted to do that, take him to court. The bottom line is, it was his property to do whatever he sees fit. And I was one, I sat down, talked to the man face to face. I'm not one to get on the internet and blast people. I sat down there with Lenny and I talked to him and said, listen, I understand it's your property, but here's the reasons why I would hate to see it go. And the guy talked to me, and we didn't, curse and holler and this, that, and the other, and those threats were made. But that's what the bottom line is. If you want to sell your house, you want your neighbor to come in there and say, no, I don't want him to leave. They got to stay. He can't sell his house. And the ATCO thing got way, way out of touch. And,
Yeah,
that's the
but
thing I want to say, but I'm not going to say.
yeah, I mean, with a certain group of competitors, getting suspended, booted, whatever you want to call it, not being allowed back was kind of a crap deal all the way around. But it's, I guess you could say it's progression. Again, back when you were a kid, it was big motors and rear wheel drive and stick shift cars, and then it just it's progressed up to where I don't want to say the sport is now, because there's still a lot of V8s, rear wheel drive, automatic, stick shift, whatever. But a lot of kids, my kids' age, and it, are more interested in making horsepower out of half as many cylinders.
Yeah. Well, I understand that, and I don't see nothing wrong with that. You
Right.
know, I just feel racing is racing, but you know, I I go back to when the the new generation Cobra Jets, Copos, and the drag packs showed up, and everybody shitting their pants that, oh my God, this is the end of it. You know, we're going down to tubes. And I had a nice conversation with Charlie Downing, and I said to him, I said, Charlie, I said, you check with your pop. Back in 1969, when the original Copos came, the 427 cars, I said, everybody, we didn't have internet then. Everybody thought it's the end of the world of drag racing because these 69 Camaros showed up with a lot of horsepower. Well, here we are, and that's a long way since 1969, and the sport didn't dry up there.
Right.
But I do see what I feel is going to kill the sport. You have no spectators. Maple Grove is the few tracks with national events that pack the place. Dinwiddie at their national events, we rolled out of there Sunday morning. I'm going to say 8 o'clock because we had lost on Friday, and the road was backed up for 10 miles coming in there. They're another big draw for national events, but their owner wanted to get more cars in, and NHRA was stiff with their quotas. And I believe that was the main reasoning why they don't have a national event this year at Dinwiddie, because you can't make money. Like he was beat up because it had rained. He didn't get the Saturday crowd like you would because it freaking poured. And then
Right.
we raced half the night, you know. But there's so many things. And I know when I spoke to Kyle Kreski, those guys were advertising on the Philadelphia and the Reading stations, 2 weeks before the race. They spent a lot of money in advertising. And I think they'll do fine. I just hope the weekly people keep the track up. You got to have that guy coming in every week and making the track pay the bills, pay the rent, pay the electric.
What's your take on a lot of the bracket stuff switching to 8th mile?
I'm not a big believer of that, but if you want to race, you got to play by the rules. And if, from what I gather, all these tracks have, told the racers, and that's what they want. And if that's what they want, who am I that I don't race that local track to say that's wrong? You know what I mean? If they are all in agreement that, hey, 8th mile is fine with me, I'm in agreement because I don't have no skin in the game.
Right.
A lot of guys sit back and bitch and moan, hey, it's 8th mile. But at their testing tunes, they run quarter mile.
Right.
And that's for the guys that have cars like us.
Now, what's interesting is, you're a few miles from, one of the biggest events that happens in the year, and that runs 8th mile. Over at Cecil with the Yellow Bullet.
Yeah.
But
That
that's
to
a
me
whole
is,
different game.
yeah, it's a whole different game.
But
they
pack it.
like that.
Yeah.
Jimmy, the manager / owner, he's got a PDR A car that's 8th mile, and it's fast. And he busts his butt to make it go fast. And hey, that's their type of racing. And he's the king. He's the 4 or 5 time champ. And God bless him. But he's racing.
Right.
Someday they might, say, hey, look, we're going to go 1,000 feet or whatever. But he goes over 200 mile an hour in the 8th. I would hate to see what that car would actually do at Cecil with the short shutdown area in a quarter. You follow me?
Right.
So you got to take that in consideration too, how much power they make. You got to stop these things too.
Right. Yeah, because they're just, those guys are making just astronomically ridiculous amounts of horsepower.
Oh yeah.
All right, one of the cool things that you are involved in pretty much every year is you and your lovely wife go to Cecil County every year, again, when you're able to, for Uncle Buck's pig roast. So let's talk about Uncle Buck's pig roast for a few minutes.
He was a pretty cool guy. And Penny and him hit it off the first time we had went, years ago at one of them. And the next thing I know, she's over there helping him cut the pig up. And the whole atmosphere there, that whole deal that the .90 group puts together is just really awesome. And here it is. I'm a stock eliminator guy. I know a lot of the .90 guys. They welcomed all of us with open arms. And, sometimes people think because you don't race, if you race this category, you can't be friends with that guy. And that's not really the case. And you've been there. Everybody greets everybody and welcomes them with open arms and treats them well. But the Keister family, except for that cheapskate Rob, they're a good bunch. And I hope he's listening, because his father and I have a sponsorship deal, and he's in there every year trying to half price me. And I think I'm gonna have to call my buddy Guido up and go break his legs or something, get him off my back on this stuff. But now I've known his dad forever, and I've known him for a long time, and they're a good group. And that Uncle Buck thing, I hope it goes on forever. That's really a good thing.
I truly love that event. That is without a doubt always something that I wish I could go to every year. Obviously I can't, because it's just life. But if every event ran like that event, I don't think anybody would have a single thing to complain about. I mean, granted, they'll still find something,
Yeah.
but for the realistic side of the group, there wouldn't be a single thing to complain about.
No, it's a good time, and the good times because of a lot of good people that are there. You got one guy there, Tommy Goldman. Tommy works on everything, and if you ever talk to that man, that is one smart guy. And on the grand scheme of knowing things, I'm a thimble to his 5-gallon bucket. That's a smart guy, man.
Right. Yeah,
I'm just honored that the guy talked.
Like I said, all three of us got to go a few years ago, and Bob and Penny were nice enough to let us borrow their RV for the weekend, so we wouldn't have to stay at a hotel. And that was a fun weekend. I had been down the year before, I think it was, with Rob Jackson from Rob's Need for Speed. And again, that was an awesome event. And that's on my I want to go to every year, but can't always go list. So
Yeah, life got its curveballs.
Yep.
But we're blessed so far, man. This whole deal, getting things ready and everything to go to Gainesville. I mean, it's 850 miles. That's not a whole lot, but it is a lot when you're towing a condominium behind you. But we're gonna go down there, and you listen to all the chatter on Class Racer. Hey, we're only going 1,000 foot and dump them, this, that, and the other. Well, I'm putting the word out right now. I'm going to lift 2 cars past the finish line. I'm going to show you how fast my car goes.
You got to show them who's the boss, right?
No, not the boss. Just that, hey, I'm not afraid to go fast. We have class eliminations there. I'm not afraid, to put a decent number on the board to show somebody that, hey, the old turd don't run so bad.
Right. So that's, you're heading out in what, like 2.5 weeks, right?
We're gonna leave on the 24th of February and just take a nice slow drive down.
All right, Ken Robinson had two comments. His only pole, he got it in a front wheel drive car. And then he said all runs count.
Oh, yeah, yeah, all runs count. But see, when you got the only car in the class, I I have enough knowledge of the car that if I ran, let's say 105 under on the first pass, I can make the thing run 75 under the rest of the passes. And then I'm right back in that sweet spot, and that average is coming down like a rocket.
Right. Now, how long have you had that Kingswood wagon?
20 years.
Wow. Now, another cool story about your car is at the Gator Nationals, there's a pretty good chance that no matter what happens, that thing's going to be on TV again.
Nah, why would it be on TV again?
I don't know. Is it there was talk of somebody wants to try racing it, I think, and not you. Was it there?
Alan and Joe. They both wanted to take a pass. So if they want to take a pass in it, I'm good. They can hop in the big girl there and wheel down the track.
Now, wouldn't the comical part be that one of them drives and the other one has a camera in the passenger seat and comments on the way down, and then they switch sides and do the same thing?
Sure. Hell, I'll sit in the back and run the camera and they can have a conversation.
Oh, shit.
I can do a big Neil Freeman. We can load that thing up, man.
There you go. So, oh boy, yeah. Have everybody, yeah. Put as many people as you can in it for $10 worth of gas, right?
Nah, gonna have to be more than $10. Fuel, you know what fuel costs?
Oh my God.
Fuel is expensive.
All right. Brother Bob, somebody offers you the keys, the proverbial keys, if you will, to any kind of race car on the planet. What would you want to try?
Well, right this second, I would have to say my ultimate car would be to jump in Jim Boudreaux's car. Jim's got one of the cleanest, fastest cars in the country. And if I had a chance to drive anything, that's what I would want to drive.
Nice. That is a beautiful car.
And hey, he's a great guy. The car is 100% legal. And it is, my God, fast.
Yep. Got a little bit of line performance under the hood of that thing.
Yeah. Jason's a good guy. He's a smart guy. I've had some really good conversations about my particular motor, and I was shocked when he told me who he was doing the 255s for, a few of them. And like I say, the guy's smart, but he's a down to earth guy.
All your years of racing, the one person that you've met that you can go later on in life, I had the chance to talk to, who was it?
What are you talking, the average Joe or somebody big?
Racer.
Big
Oh, no, a racer.
Man, I've met quite a few over the years. And speaking of Ken Robinson, just to tick off subject for a minute, everywhere we go, between him and Penny, somebody says hi to me, they're like, gee whiz, man, who don't you know? Well, we were at Englishtown one year, and oh my goodness, a buddy of mine at work, his niece was dating one of the Pro Stock motorcycle guys, Doug Horn. And I seen her coming, and I said to Kenny, I said, I'll bet you $20 I can get that girl to say hi to me. And he goes, no, I ain't betting you. You probably know her. So she come walking up, and she was with Sean Lang, and we sat there and was chatting, and she goes, "Oh, she's telling Sean, oh, that's my uncle's friend. They're policemen together, and blah blah blah." And Kenny just says, so does Penny, that I know everybody, which I don't, because it's like I tell them, I'm just a nobody in this sport, man. But I go there to have fun.
All right.
Now, back to your question.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
That would be hard to say. I've met over the years a lot of very, very nice people. And I can say this. I always say that in this sport and all these years, I only met 2 shitheads. And one of them has changed a whole lot. And I don't know. I don't know who would be the one to say that they were, you know, like they say in the city, mo better to know. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I've just met so many good people. So I really don't have one, you know what I mean? They're all nice.
I know that it's Larry Morgan. I know that.
Oh, Knucklehead, my buddy.
But
At national events, I was on the scale and I hear this, "Hey, Knucklehead. And I'm thinking to myself, who the hell is this fool hollering at? I turn around, it's Morgan hollering at me. He's a good guy.
yeah. Couple of comments from Mark Lebrecht. Bob loves in capital letters to beat Jack Mattias.
Oh, that's always fun. Jack actually worked with me on the certification team back in the 80s. Jack's a good guy, but we have our little rivalry.
And another one from Jared said, Bob is like the mayor of drag racers.
No, I'm more like the antique.
And then
I should have antique plates.
have somebody airbrush you out. We'll get you around to airbrush you some antique plates for the wagon.
There you go.
Yeah. And then Billy Harper just put Mass Hole.
That's my man. Can I tell you a quick story? And
Absolutely.
Billy was the one that set me up. We were on the way to Epping. As soon as we got over the state line and in the Mass, I looked over at Penny and I says, "You know what? You're nothing but a masshole." And she went, "What?" I said, "Welcome to Mass." And I got that from Billy.
Yeah.
And I tried to get Billy to call her a masshole at ATCO one year, and he was scared. He wouldn't do it. Shame on you, Billy Harper.
Oh God. Well, Billy drives one of my absolute favorite styles of cars too. My family owned a Chevy Nova that ran around the Northeast, and when I, from when I was a little kid, so I always grew up around a Nova and fell in love with them, and I still to this day love Chevy Novas.
Well, his is one exceptional car. I mean, it is really, really nice. And Billy being Billy, he's putting another engine combination in because he didn't tell me that. I just know. And if he was a good guy, he'd have gave this old man his spare motor instead of selling it, so the old guy didn't have to spend all his money. But that's okay, Billy Harper.
All right, last question. Since you've been around it for a long time, obviously you've got a lot of knowledge, not just about the tech stuff, but about racing in general, and a lot of different cars, different manufacturers, different brands, whatever. What's it like if somebody comes up and just plain old asks you for advice, somebody who's younger who needs a little guidance? How does that make you feel as being one of the old guards of NHRA drag racing?
Well, to me, if anyone asks me my opinion of something, I feel very honored that they come and ask me. And the only problem I got is that if they're asking me about a combination that I have to race against as far as like in my class, then I just very politely say, I really can't tell you much, but if anybody needs any advice and or help, all these guys in the division know, we help. And when I say we, I mean me and Penny, because Frankie Bialis, his one friend broke a ring and pinion, and the friend had a Chevrolet. Well, he come over and asked me, could I help him? So Penny and I went over there and put a ring and pinion in. And don't mind helping anybody. I mean, you're there to race. I've helped guys fix their car prior to, racing in the lanes against me and lost to them. And that's the way I'd rather do. If you're going to lose against them, not, break or something else happen, or just sit there and take that buy route. But no, it makes you feel good when people ask you your advice. And I try in every case to be honest, tell them and help them.
Fair enough. If you could impart one last bit of wisdom on the drag racing universe, what is it?
Repeat that question.
If you can impart one piece of drag racing wisdom across the drag racing universe, what would it be?
Wow.
Besides chill out.
I think that we have a pretty good deal now. And when I say it like that is, we all sit around and have a beer together, and the next day we're out there trying to cut each other's throat once we stage the car up. You know what I mean? And I think we have the best of both worlds there, because I tell people sometimes we go camping and race once in a while, and the whole atmosphere and stuff, you're not getting an influx of new people or anything. You're the same old people, and like us or hate us, that we do what we do, and we've kindled a lot of good friendships over the years with everybody. And I don't know, probably got away from the question, but yeah, it's just a huge family.
Very
Like
cool.
I say, in 59 years, I met 1.5 shitheads. So that ain't bad. You can find more than that walking down the street.
Yep.
And I didn't meet Billy Harbor.
Well,
That'll teach you to say something.
for those that don't know, when I first started doing this goofy online stuff, I don't know, what are we talking, 6, 7, 8 years ago now?
Probably.
Bob was one of the people that was part of the old Wheels Up Radio. When I decided to take a break and just had to focus on some other stuff, Bob was one of 2 people that contacted me within literally days of each other and said, all right, are you over it yet? Time to get back to doing it. And I've always had a deep, sincere appreciation of Bob, so thank you.
I ain't dead now. I don't want an epitaph here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sorry. Please.
But I thank you for that. But I also felt pretty honored that you allowed me to come on the show. And a couple of the episodes, like setting national records, what you had to do, how it was tear down, that kind of stuff, that really made me feel good to explain that to people that didn't know.
Do you think? I don't know. I'm not even sure how I want to say it. In the 6 or 8 years that we've known each other, do you think a lot's changed since then, since we started?
Well, do you mean with the podcast podcast or the radio show or whatever you
No,
call it today?
with the racing scene in general.
Well, I think it's changed some, but not a lot. The rules have changed some, but I just, you know, I think that a lot of people are trying to help us by like this show. And then you have Bobby Fazio out there doing his stuff and this guy doing that stuff. And I think they're all doing things like that in this to help and to spotlight that, hey, we race, we're proud of it, and come join us. Let's all race.
Cool. Cool. So, obviously I want to say thank you for, your time to come on and hang out and talk, and always enjoy talking to you, and again, thank you for calling me up one day and saying, all right, get over it, it's time. I appreciate it, because all of this would have never happened without you and Pete.
And I've never met Pete, but you gotta like him, man. I'm an old Vega guy from back in the day. Only mine had a whole lot less cylinders and a stick shift.
Yeah. He really was looking forward to talking to you. Like I said, unfortunately, he's a teacher at an automotive program at a high school, and then he still has his shop, and they got hung up with a car that was kicking their butt in the at his business. So he had to stay there and do that. But he's going to be on tomorrow night, because he said he's not missing tomorrow night, no matter what. For our little award show that you've probably seen the post on Facebook about it.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
See if I can get. There you go. Well, kind of. So gonna have a lot of fun.
If you get a bunch of them there, man, I can put a motor together, be a whole set of rods and pistons.
Oh, good. All right, Mr. Bender, sir, thank you again for coming on. Tell your lovely wife.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me steal you for an hour.
She got her buds on you, and I'll let her know.
All right.
She got her buds
Bob,
stuff over here chilling.
all right. Bob, thank you very much for coming on, buddy.
Well, Chris, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I feel honored to be on the show, man.
All right. Anytime, my friend, anytime at all. Maybe we'll check in after or even during Gainesville, see how things are going down there.
That's fine with me. We'll be there for 2 weeks.
All right. I know how to get a hold of you.
There you go. Maybe,
All right,
maybe I
everybody.
can get some.
Go there. Yeah. Talk to our mutual, talk to some people, get some things.
Yeah, well, in the past, I've always tried to get you good hosts. I mean, good people too for you to host, but maybe I can get some connections for you.
There you go. All right, my friend.
All right, man.
Have a great night.
You too, sir.
All right, Bob Bender, everybody from Stock Eliminator Racer, NHRA Division 1, and a good friend of mine coming on and hanging out with us tonight. So he's a cool dude. If you're ever at a divisional in Division 1, or if you're going down to Gainesville, go find the big girl. Go find Bob and Penny. You're two of the nicest people you'll ever get the chance to meet. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, actually, hold that thought. I gotta get my little decade at a glance out. Get all my stuff here. All right, so coming up next Tuesday night, the 7th at 7:00, JP Miller is going to be coming on to talk about his series and some pro mods and top sportsman stuff. Be talking to him. And of course, tomorrow night, the first annual. Hold on, there we go. First annual PD Awards. We're going to be handing out 10 trophies. We got a great group of people that are gonna come on and help us hand them out. And it's gonna be a ton of fun. Trust me, I will put another ad up tomorrow. But it's gonna be live Wednesday night, the 1st, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern. Tune in, check us out live. Have a great night, everybody. I'm out of here.